Pius founded the International Catholic Migration Commission in order to help coordinate the Church's global efforts in order to deal with migrants throughout the world. And we're now celebrating our 60th, this year we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, which is quite significant. And one of the most prodigious claims to fame that we have is that we've resettled together with Migration and Refugee Services of the United States Bishops' Conference and Catholic Relief Services, working together because we always work together with the local agencies. We've resettled over 1 million refugees in the United States alone.
Mostly from...
There are so many children who needed to be assisted, and we were there not only during the crisis itself, but helped them to rebuild each of their villages. And so we would go back and on a periodic basis to make sure that all of their needs were met and that they were able to resume their normal lives. So that, I mean, the greatest thing is that if you can make sure that people don't have to leave their countries, that's the greatest goal, so that people don't have to migrate, because most people do not want to leave home. They would like to stay where they are. They would like to be with their own families. And this is one of those villages where we had really basically helped them to rebuild the entire village. We live in a globalized world. And in this globalized world, more and more and more migrants are formed because they, as we've seen in the last year with all the upheaval in the Middle East, for instance, and in North Africa, think of how many people are suddenly homeless. They have to seek refuge. They are either internally displaced within their own countries, or they cross the borders to go and try to seek assistance elsewhere. And there are currently, the estimate is that there are 200 million migrants throughout the world, which is the equivalent of a huge country, just on the move throughout the world. And so the Church obviously has to reach out and try to be of assistance to those people in any way that it can.
Now we're just coming to a point that I've been doing these programs for years. This is one of the most painful and fascinating subjects of human beings, particularly women, being trafficked. They're sold. How does this happen?
The issue of trafficked peoples.
Yes.
And
explain that.
There are currently approximately 27 million trafficked peoples, which implies that these are people, not only implies, it confirms, that these people are living in slavery in our modern world. And it is a remarkable thing. I was at a conference, and a Protestant pastor was describing, and he is an expert on human trafficking. And he is actually at the University of San Francisco. And he read in the Chronicle in San Francisco about the closing of a restaurant, and it was a Chinese restaurant, and he said, my goodness, I go to this Chinese restaurant all the time. And all of the waitresses that work at that restaurant and others owned by and other restaurants that were owned by the same man were all trafficked women working there as slaves. And he, as a trafficking expert, was totally unaware of that fact. They were serving him on a weekly basis as he would go into the restaurant, and there was no way to know that these people were living in slavery.
No.
When we have a meeting, it is an international event.
A lot of brass.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And one of the things that is so rewarding about this is to bring together all of the parties concerned. And so we have on our board also the Executive Director of Migration and Refugee Services of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the United States. And we work through our partners. And it's part of the principle of subsidiarity that we don't do a job that somebody who is local can and should do. And so we have 4 international cardinals and a patriarch on our board to show that extraordinary international character. We try to formulate policies for migrants and to see what the Church can do for migrants in our Geneva office. And we report to the Secretariat of State in the Vatican and to the Pontifical Council for the Pastoral Care of Migrants and Itinerant Peoples. So in the Vatican, there is a special dicastery that is only for the pastoral care of migrants, and ours is to deal more with the temporal needs of migrants.